Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the motion that was tabled by the honourable member for Pierre Fondellard suggests that this government is turning its back on Canadian seniors. This is absolutely false. This government is doing exactly the opposite. We are standing up for Canadian seniors. This government remains committed to ensuring the retirement security of all Canadians. Indeed, let me assure the member that our government will ensure that seniors maintain all the benefits they currently receive. Achieving this goal, however, will not happen through wishful thinking. Our aging population will have profound implications on all aspects of Canadian life, including our retirement income system. That's why this government is determined to ensure the long-term strength of our economy. Only in this way can we protect the well-being of both current and future generations. For the benefit of the House, I would like to elaborate on how the government is responding to the challenge of the demographic shift. In particular, I would like to set Canada's challenges into an international context. As you know, Mr. Speaker, there are three pillars to Canada's retirement income system. There's the Old Age Security Program, the Canada Pension Plan, and finally, personal savings, which include employer pension plans. There are no concerns with the viability of the Canada Pension Plan. In the 1990s, in light of our aging population, the government made major changes to ensure the program's financial sustainability. As a result, the CPP is on a secure and sustainable path. There are, however, major concerns with the affordability of the Old Age Security Program. And so, just as we once refined the Canada Pension Plan to protect future generations, the time has come to examine the OAS. To do anything less would betray the hopes and dreams of Canadians for a secure and dignified retirement. The stakes are high, Mr. Speaker, and this government will not gamble away the economic security of older Canadians by failing to act. Let me reflect first on why reviewing measures to protect OAS in the long term are so necessary. Our population is aging. Over the next 20 years, the number of Canadians over the age of 65 will jump from 4.7 million to 9.3 million people. That is a staggering increase in a relatively short period of time. And it comes with a high price tag. The annual cost of the OAS program is expected to triple between 2010 and 2030, from $36 billion to $108 billion. At the same time, as our senior population is rising, our working population is falling. And this is the crux of the issue. Unlike the Canada Pension Plan, the OAS is financed primarily through taxes on working people. By 2030, the number of taxpayers for every senior will have dropped in half, from 4 to 2. Fewer people working means less revenues and higher costs. Well, this is not a recipe for sustainability, Mr. Speaker. Unless we act decisively and responsibly, the Old Age Security Program will impose an increasing burden to future generations, which in turn challenges the ability of the government to continue delivering its important benefits to our seniors. That's why our government is determined to take balanced and fair action now to protect the well-being of current and future seniors. This government will take responsible actions in recognition of the changing demographics so that we can have sustainable programs to support all Canadians in the future. I stress the word fair. Any changes to the OAS program would not affect current retirees or those close to retirement. They would also give others sufficient time to adjust and plan for their retirement. Let me be absolutely clear. People receiving OAS and GIS right now will not lose 1 cent. Mr. Speaker, Canada is not the only country with an aging population. I think it would be useful to examine how other industrialized nations are responding to economic stresses on their retirement income systems and what we can learn from them. Take the case of the United Kingdom. In 2011, the UK proposed to accelerate changes to pension reforms that were approved a few years ago. As events around the world have made it clear that governments need to make responsible decisions to ensure social programs remain sustainable. For Canada, this reaffirms our belief in a balanced, fair, and responsible action. Any changes to our old age security program will be well-planned and gradual. We will work hard to get it right the first time. Australia is an example. You may know, Mr. Speaker, a review panel recommended increasing the age of eligibility for the old age pension from 65 to 67. Naturally, the proposals provoked much debate. What's interesting, however, is that seniors groups actually supported an increase in the retirement age. They understood that given the country's aging population, changes were inevitable. Canada can learn a lot from the Australian experience. The government is convinced that Canadians will understand what's at stake and therefore will support reforms to our old age security program. No doubt today's debate will be the first of many. Canadians appreciate our country's fiscal realities. Unlike the opposition who continue their campaign of fear with half-truths and disingenuous comments. Japan's experience also shows why public awareness is so important. Back in the 1990s, a major study reached a significant conclusion. Many Japanese in their 50s believed that public pensions would not be around for their retirement. Given this clear understanding of what was at stake, there were major concerns after Japan raised the age requirement for a basic public pension. And closer to home, the United States passed pension reforms back in 1983 and is considering new increases in their retirement age. A recent proposal is being supported by reform advocates and actuaries for one simple reason. Since Americans are living longer, they need to work longer. This, too, is a lesson that Canada should take to heart. This opposition falsely accuses the government of fighting the deficit on the back of our country's seniors. Mr. Speaker, unlike the Liberal Party before us, we will not cut transfers to individuals or to provinces to balance our budget. This is not about deficit reduction. This is about securing the pensions of Canadians for today and tomorrow. We cannot put our heads in the sand and ignore the demographic realities facing us. We must meet the challenge square on and protect our old age security program as other countries around the world have protected theirs. So, Mr. Speaker, as we move forward, our government will work to protect the financial security of all Canadians while ensuring that the social programs remain sustainable for the long term. That is why, Mr. Speaker, I will not support this motion, and I recommend that all members of the House do likewise. Thank you very much.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Algoma, Manitoulin, and Kapuskasing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I've been listening to the speeches all day, and what we hear from the government side is they talk about that this is about fairness. Well, you know, if it's about fairness, then what is so fair about giving $6 billion of corporate tax cuts to the biggest corporations like the banks and the big oil companies? And we know that these big corporate tax cuts don't create one single job. So I'm just wondering, what is fair about that? Wouldn't it be fairer to make sure that we lift every senior out of poverty? So these are the pioneers, the seniors who have built our country. So I'm here to ask my colleague, can he really tell us about their plan to change this? Are they really on the side of the big corporates' tax cuts, to the big banks and the big oil companies, or are they on the side of the most vulnerable, which is our seniors? So can they answer this specific question can they guarantee they will not roll back from the age of 65, or roll up, should I say, from 65 to 67 for accessibility to OAS?
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would thank the honourable member for her question. She started off talking about tax cuts, and every economist will tell you, tax cuts do create jobs. The private sector creates jobs. And jobs are what are going to secure Canada's economic future and allow more people to pay into a system through taxes that will then in turn provide these benefits that Canadians count on. It's Economics 101, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? L'honorable député de Lac-Saint-Louis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to invoke an old-fashioned concept. It's the concept of trust. This is a very important part of the relationship between the government and the governed, Mr. Speaker. We saw 8 months ago in an election campaign the Prime Minister promising that he would not touch transfers to individuals. 8 months later, on the road to majority government, he had a conversion. Now he thinks he can do what he wants. What is that going to do? I ask the honourable member, what is that going to do to the trust, if there is any left, between this government and the people of Canada?
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think the question of trust was answered on May the 2nd. The Canadian people trusted us with a strong, stable, national majority government to deliver on the priorities for Canadians, and that's exactly what we're doing. We haven't cut one red cent of any payment to any Canadian that deserves a payment on any issue. We haven't cut one red cent to any province. In fact, we continue to significantly increase transfers to the provinces under the Canada Health and Social Transfer. That's trust. And that's why we've maintained the trust of the Canadian people and why we will continue to maintain the trust of the Canadian people.
Questions and comments. A short question, the honourable member for Langley.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Member Cross for his wonderful speech. We look at the track record of the Liberals. When they had an opportunity and they knew that this issue was coming up, they did nothing. Same as on the environment, they did absolutely nothing. Their solution now is to stop fixing buildings that need repair. Their solution is to let criminals out of prison. Don't punish criminals, Mr. Speaker. That makes no sense. The NDP's solution, increase the taxes on Canadians. Mr. Speaker, that's not the solution. Would the member share what this government's position is on helping seniors and answer why the opposition is opposed to helping seniors?
Why?
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville, a short answer, please.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the proudest moment of my new term as a Member of Parliament was the day that this Parliament, well, at least our side of it, voted in favour of the largest increase in the guaranteed income supplement in 25 years. This government put low-income seniors first for the first time in 25 years. I'm proud to be a Member of Parliament for a government that stands up for seniors.